morning. Please go ahead and be seated. How are you doing? You know, I don't know, but are you beginning to feel like there's winter? I don't know what happened. It's been warm, and I'm like, oh, if this is winter 24/7, I'm good. But let's not get too excited, right? We have 5 more months of winter left, okay? But I'll tell you what I'm excited about. I'm excited about our new series, Without Excuse. I'm really excited about that. And of course, those at home, it's good to see you. So many people in the building today. I understand there was a bus that brought people to the building here. Yeah. It is good to have you. It is good to see you. Last week, Stu kicked off the series, and he said, because of God's grace, we are without excuse. Because of God's grace, we've been redeemed, we've been reconciled with God, so we are without excuse. We can go all in. We can be excited about God. We can be excited about our discipleship. We can be excited about the opportunities that God provides. But if you're like me, sometimes I get in the way. You know, sometimes, okay, forget about me. Maybe life gets in the way. Many of you may know that May 2021, I picked up a new hobby. And, you know, of course, golf is all summer, right? So you got to manage. I was looking for a way to manage COVID and the loneliness. And so I heard about running. I'm like, let me give it a try. And so May 2021, I jump into it. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I'm learning and trying to be comfortable with myself and just challenging myself. But then I learned very quickly that running is actually a very difficult sport. And that it didn't take long for me to come up with excuses. It's too hot. They say you should run in the morning or late in the evening. And then I also found out that sometimes it rains, right? It's raining outside. I shouldn't go running. I mean, why push yourself so much, right? And then fall came, October, November, and I was done. I'm like, it's too cold. And so if you know, like you have a very small window, right? God provides all these opportunities, but sometimes we can come up with reasons why it's not a good idea. And I know for me, I felt justified. It made sense to me. It's too hot. It's too cold. It's raining. Why? What am I trying to achieve? I mean, at my age, I'm not going to make it to the Olympics. What's the point? Right? So I felt justified. It made sense in my mind. But then December came, and I was calling one of the elders to talk about the church and get some direction and inspiration. And all I could hear was just the wind blowing. The wind just, and then this guy just breathing just heavily. I'm like, are you okay? He goes, yeah, I'm running. But if you're okay, we can talk. I'm running. I'm like, bro, it's winter. Yeah, I got to keep running. I just can't wait. And I'm like, okay, I've heard of the Seniors Olympics. You're not trying to make that one, right? But you see, I was coming up with reasons not to push myself. I was coming up with reasons not to see the opportunities out there for me. Instead of saying, okay, it's October, November, I am done. I'm hanging up the boots and, you know, the running shoes, and I will see you in April. That is 6 months of just inactivity, right? And all the momentum and everything you've done and the inspiration just gone. Why? Because of excuses. So we want to talk about opportunity. So my title is simply this: when opportunity knocks, okay? When opportunity knocks, because it is always knocking. God is always trying, doing his best to put you in positions where you can be your best, positions where you can get a chance to be faithful, to push yourself. But are you going to let the excuses get in your way? Proverbs 26:13 simply says this, and this is the Amplified version. I read it and I couldn't believe it. So I'm like, okay, forget about the NIV and ESV. I'm doing the Amplified today, okay? Check this. Proverbs 26:13. The lazy person who is self-indulged and relies on lame excuses. I'm like, what? Is that in the Bible? Like, the lazy person who is self-indulgent and relies on lame excuses says, there is a lion in the road. It's hot. It's raining. It's cold. I'm old. A lion is in the open square, and if I go outside to work, I will be killed. External reasons, right? Yeah. Is laziness robbing you of opportunities? Right? All the opportunities God is putting in your path. Okay, yeah, that's external reasons. Okay, what about internal one? Be ready for this one. Protectionism. Protectionism is an economic policy that governments will use to shield a domestic company or industry from foreign competition. Okay? Protectionism. So an example would be the housing market. Canadians can't afford houses. Okay, for the next 2 years, no foreigners are buying homes here. Or maybe let's increase the taxes to prevent people from coming in so you protect the domestic companies. We Canadians pay some of the most expensive phone bills in the world. Protectionism. So Mike, what has it got to do with us? Well, we do the same with excuses. Internal reasons. We come up with reasons why we are not. Right? Instead of really saying, okay, this is the true reason why I'm not doing X, Y, or Z, we say, I just feel this is not the right time. I've been hurt, and so I got to protect myself. And of course, if you've been hurt, nobody's saying go out there and hurt yourself. Of course, you want to get all the care you need. But excuses that we come up with, they shield us for a moment. Just for a moment. And then the reality kicks in. Excuses will shield us for a moment so we don't get the chance to even go deeper to find out what is the real reason. What are we lacking? Is it motivation? Is it discipline? Is it inspiration? What are we lacking? Is it foundational skills? What are we lacking that we can learn and move on and embrace these opportunities that God puts in front of us? But you may say, well, hey, Mike, I have legit reasons, and that's okay, and I understand that, right? And we all do have legit reasons. But sometimes, how do you know if you're making an excuse? I'll give you two quick, simple ones. I think the first one is when you allow fear to control you. When you allow fear to control you, right? It's an excuse. Maybe you've been studying the Bible. Maybe you've been coming out. You've been watching, and you understand that because of God's grace, you are without excuse. That He came, He died for your sins, and He is extending an invitation. This is your opportunity to be freed from your sins, but the fear of making a stand for God, the fear of maybe people, is controlling you to the point that you know that you need to get to that waters of baptism, but there's fear holding you back. Another one, when you are invited to be faithful, you're making excuses when you're invited to be faithful, but you come up with a reason why you can't. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today because I think that is a big one. God is always going to put us in a position to be faithful. Because in becoming faithful, we're becoming more and more like Jesus. And is that not what we want? That's what I want. I want to be known as someone who is faithful. I want to be known as somebody who trusted God, not my abilities, and took a step for God, and for God to use that moment to have an impact. I think without excuse is so important as a church for us to talk about because we are not saying we don't have problems. What we are saying is that this disposition to acknowledge the realities of problems, but also confront the challenges, confront the excuses that we come up with so we'll be able to see what God can do with His people. I'm really, really excited that we get a chance to talk about this because, life will always give you a reason to say no. Life will always give you a reason to say no. Your past experiences will always give you a reason to say no. And do you know that your brains are actually programmed to take the easiest path? Think of water. Water is not going to resist and push. Where are the cracks? That's where I'm going. I think in the same way, we put ourselves in positions where we choose the easy way out. I've done it many times. Have you ever done that? Is it just me? No, that's what we all do. What if we pause for a moment? What if we said to ourselves that as a church 2023, we are going to take every single opportunity and go and say yes without excuse? That we've been given something very special. So what do you do when opportunity knocks? I have 1 point and 1 point only because I want you to get this. And it's so important. What do you do when opportunity knocks? Know that you have the prerequisite. Know that you have the prerequisite. Know that you have what it takes. Know that you have been equipped. You've been prepared. You have been given all you need to respond to the opportunity that God provides. What do? How do you respond? You have the prerequisite. You have been given every single thing you need. We're going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 17. And 1 Samuel chapter 17 is the story of David and Goliath, right? This is a story that we love. But most of the time when we get here, though, we're just interested in one part of the story, which is the story of David going up against Goliath, right? But I want us to go a little bit deeper because there are so many characters in here. There are so many life lessons that I believe will help you and I see that we have an opportunity, that beyond the excuses, beyond the challenges, beyond the limitations, beyond your unfavorable climate situation where you find yourself, there is an opportunity. 1 Samuel 17, verse 8. There's a battle going on. The Israelites against the Philistines. So verse 8 says, Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Roll over and die. Why come out? This battle is over. Why do you even try? Am I not a Philistine and are you not servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me." Choose a man, have him come down to me. If he's able to kill me, we will become your servants. But if I kill him, if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and servants. Then the Philistines said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, listen to this, Saul, the leader, Saul, the king, Saul, who was ahead above everybody else, who probably was just like this Philistine, he was terrified. He and the army, they were dismayed and they were terrified. Verse 16, for 40 days, the Philistine came forward every morning and evening. I don't know what happened in the afternoon. Maybe they took a break, had a nap, I'm not sure. But every morning and evening, he took his stance and repeated the same thing. Imagine this traumatic and cinematic scene that the battle lines are drawn. You have the Philistines. Forget about the Philistines. You have Goliath. He is a champion. He is big. He wins. And the Israelites just another group of people waiting to be on his list of conquests. And in his pride, he doesn't want a drawn-out battle. In his pride, just give me one person because you're just wasting your time. I don't want to kill all of you. Just give me one person. And if I kill him, hey, you surrender. That's what he's talking about. And when he came out, 40 days, 40 nights, the Israelites, they seemed defeated before even the battle started. So unprepared. All they could see is excuses and the reasons that they couldn't go up forward. Verse 25. Now the Israelites had been saying, "Do you see how this man keeps coming out? he comes out to defile Israel, the king will give great worth to the man who kills him, and he will also give him his daughter in marriage, and will exempt his family from taxes. Oh. Oh. I don't know how much they were paying in Israel back in the day, but boy, in Canada, man, in Toronto, whoo, where do I sign? I'm in. I'm getting a woman. I'm getting taxes. Probably going to be moved next to the palace. Songs are going to be written about me. Man, do you see how that beyond the excuses, there are opportunities and rewards? Sign me up. And so David heard something. David heard the soldiers talking. Now, I don't have the time to get into it, but this is a great chapter, right? Because David was not even a soldier. He was not one of the guys. He was a young shepherd tending his dad's sheep. His dad came in and dad said, hey, go and get me some news. They didn't have WhatsApp. They didn't have TikTok. They didn't have Instagram and Facebook. So you had to actually travel to go get the news, right? And so, hey, David, here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to go send you out and go check out your brothers and bring me some news. But here's what the dad did, which I found very interesting. The dad gave him some bread for David's brothers, for his sons. But for the commander of the army, he gave some cheese, right? He said, go give him some cheese. Translation, don't send my boys to the front lines. All right? You know what happens in the front lines? People die there. But if you want some cheese, keep my boys. Right? You know, just keep them there because I'll keep it coming. If they're dead, I'm not coming to see you. Right? Quite interesting. It doesn't, you know, hey, it's not only back home where I'm from where you grease people's hands, right? It's So David was hearing certain things, verse 26. David asked the man standing near him, did I hear what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and remove this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defile the armies of the living God? We see some conviction. Not just the reward, what is going to be done for me, but we see conviction. We see a man who is saying, I'm about to take a stand. We see a man who says, I have been invited to be faithful. And I'm going for it. When opportunity knocks, know you have the prerequisites. You are prepared. You are ready. The army, they were terrified. They looked like, Boy Scouts on, day one, waiting for their commander. They were terrified. David was intrigued, optimistic. He was ready. He was excited. The army, they felt unprepared. They've never gone to battle before. You're in the army. You just didn't wake up one day and you just showed up. No. You had skills. David was prepared. And he was like, I'm ready. I'm just waiting just for my chance. He was ready. He was prepared for the opportunity. They were paralyzed for 40 days, the whole army. David was saying, you know what? This challenge, it energizes me. I'm ready. 40 days, and David just shows up. And he's ready to go. The army saw Goliath as bigger than God. And David goes, no, there is a God, and I don't care about size here. There is a God, and he doesn't care about what we have or do not have. It's all about what he is able to do. The army, their intention, they would probably say to themselves, we're just soldiers. Okay, we're just soldiers, and we follow the leader. We follow Saul, and so if Saul is terrified, why should I go? No, I'm equally terrified. And David goes, one, I'm not even in the army. I'm not even a soldier. I'm a shepherd, but I am more than a shepherd. I'm not defined by what I do, but I am defined by whose I am. And I'm ready. Let's go. They had no convictions, the army. Just, hey, look at what he is saying. He doesn't even want to fight. Have you seen him and have you seen me? No. No convictions. And David goes, this is a disgrace to God. How would your life, your day-to-day life be different if you saw people around you, or even if you listened to your own thoughts and you said to yourself, this is a disgrace to God. That this needs to stop right now because it's a disgrace to God. Could you imagine the fire, the passion you walk around with? I mean, you will be changing lives. You'll be having a great impact. No convictions, fear. And David goes, I'm ready. I am ready. Bring it. See, the army, they saw only with their physical eyes. And what they saw was this Everest of a man that you just can't get close. You can't conquer. But David, though, he saw vulnerabilities. He saw possibilities. He saw that he is big, he is a giant. I mean, Goliath had somebody whose job was just to hold a shield in front of him. What do you see when you see your excuses and challenges? Is there anything beyond the physical? Can you go a little bit deeper? Because I think God is inviting you and I to not just see with our eyes, but to see with the eyes of our hearts. To see with the eyes of faith. Because when we do that, then the Red Sea begins to part. When we see that with our spiritual eyes, God begins to do great things. So which of the two camps do you belong? The camps of the army or Camp David? Well, yes, because, I mean, again, this is the same problem. The same problem is just perception. The same problem is just perspective. The same problem, but it's just faith. The same problem, but it's their personal experience with God. It's their intimacy with God that made all the difference. Many of you are struggling with the imposter syndrome. And I'm not trying to be rude here. Many of you are struggling with the imposter syndrome. Where is this coming from? Well, studies show that 82% of all of us, we struggle with this syndrome. Now, you may be wondering, what is it? Well, it's a cognitive distortion that makes individuals feel basically nothing. That I'm not enough. Low self-esteem. I don't belong here. I don't fit in. He is better. She is better. Have you seen Goliath? He is a soldier. Have you seen me? I'm a nobody. Does that include Christians? Oh, yeah. God is giving you opportunities 24/7 to share your faith, to share the gospel. Whoa, I don't have that skill set. I haven't been trained in that. I'm only a member. Have you experienced that? You go to a store, you need help, and people are like, I only work here. They may not say it, but their whole demeanor says it. They're like, I'm just here for the paycheck. And you're frustrated, and you're like, okay, I'm going to help you help me. Okay, who can we talk to? Okay, can we talk to your boss? Can we find out? And then you get it done. And you're like, dude, what's going on here, right? But we do that in our Christianity. The 100% of Saul's army had this syndrome. They're like, they've been trained, they're prepared, but they're like, no, it is not happening. 70% of all employees suffer from this syndrome. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe they're not that equipped or trained or whatever it is. And then I read that 60% of all practicing physicians, doctors, think about it, the doctor that you're going to see, and you may have some complex issues beyond a headache or a stomachache, right? And you go there and you're talking to this doctor that you are putting your life in his hands, and he's sitting there, I don't know. Am I trained for this? Am I equipped? I mean, there are better doctors than me, you know. I feel overwhelmed, and there's so much anxiety, and I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I got lucky. That's how I became a doctor, right? Because I'm not good. I haven't accomplished anything, right? The soldier's challenges, limitations, the ability to see beyond the excuses, the mountain that was in front of them, dismantled everything. they couldn't move. And I believe as a church, we can find ourselves in the same spot. And I never want us as a church to find ourselves in positions where people hold us hostage. We never, ever as a church want to be in a position where laziness, protectionism, imposter syndrome holds us hostage to the point that we don't see all the opportunities that God provides 24/7. As a church, I want us to get to a place of such deep convictions that irrespective of our unfavorable climates, situations, single or married, cancer patient, no cancer, divorce, it doesn't matter. My kids are disciples, my kids are not disciples. Inflation is talking to me, bankruptcy doesn't. That we refuse to see what God is doing in every one of those situations. Because I think that's where God wants us to get to. That we are not defined by the challenges, but that we are intrigued by the possibilities. We are excited about the opportunities God is opening. I mean, you've heard this, right? When God closes a door, one door, what does he do? He opens another one. Or maybe he will find you a window, right? God is saying, I am here for you. I am here with you. Can we partner? Is laziness getting in the way? Let's talk about it. Is it protectionism because you've been hurt and you need to shield yourself? Let's talk about it. Maybe get some counseling because it will help you. It will always come back and show up again. Imposter syndrome? I mean, Stu nailed it last week. We're freed. We've been set free. We've been redeemed. Our biggest concern, the biggest hostage were our sins. And Jesus took it. And according to Colossians 2, he went and nailed it on the cross and he dismantled the power of sin and set us free. But you see, fear makes you forget who you are. Fear makes you forget what you have. Fear makes you forget your skills, your abilities, your training. I read about a salesman who would go to work and he would just sit and just observe. And this went on for days. And so people were concerned. They asked him, what are you doing? He goes, I've developed a system that does magic. Everybody's making calls. He says, no. Excuse me. You never call people on Mondays because they are tired from the weekend. They hate work. So calling them to sell, that's a no-no. You don't call when it's raining because you're down. Okay? You don't call when it's too hot. You're irritated. And your AC may be broken. You never want to do that. Friday, you're already thinking about the weekend. You don't do that. And you never call when, there's bad news. Okay? And never, ever, ever call to sell anything when the stock market is down. So what do you do? What options do you have? Not a lot. Just a very tiny little window. And I believe that's what fear does to us, right? It reduces our impact and our ability into a very small midget of opportunity, right? Fear makes you forget what you have. Think about the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. God gives them talents, and the last guy said, I was what? Afraid. Because I was afraid that I went and I've forgotten what you've given me. I've forgotten all the talents, all the ability, every gift that God has given you, calling you to dispense his grace. I have gone and I've hidden it because I was afraid. Is that you this morning? That your talents, your abilities? Well, I'm retired. There's not much I can do. No, what opportunities are God putting in front of you? I know a lady who recently said, I know God is calling me to strengthen people. Is there a strengthening ministry? Which is rare, by the way. People are not calling up, hey, Mike, what can I do? What are the needs? So I was excited. I'm like, yes, we have a strengthening ministry, and that's you. Yes, we do. Of course, we got the elders, and we got the shepherds, and the care ministry, and everybody's doing their part. But effective today, we have a strengthening ministry, and you lead it, and how can I help you? It's not age, it's not retirement, it's not because you're young, it's not because of your stage. It's your experience with God and your desire to see beyond your excuses and embrace the opportunities God has before you. What happened to the army? They had forgotten their skills. Are you telling me that in, I don't know how many thousands, tens of thousands of soldiers, no one single person out there was trained enough to go and face Goliath? No. Actually, Judges chapter 20, verse 16 says this. Judges 20 says, among all the soldiers of Israel, there were 700 selected troops who were left-handed, each of whom could sling a stone at a hair and not miss it. I don't know. I wanted to demonstrate this and show you. But, I don't have long hair, so it's not going to work. But imagine I have a hair right here. And you just grab your sling, you put in a stone, and you just, bam. Are you telling me this was a sport? This was part of the army, but fear makes you forget who you are and what you have and whose you are and all your training. But David was like, no, this is good. I mean, I know. This is what I do. I prepare, I practice. So when the opportunities come, I'm good to go. I can imagine David, a young boy tending sheep, just looking at maybe a leafy green, orange leaf somewhere in the middle, maybe, I don't know, maybe 300-400 meters away. And then he's like, okay, let's see what we can do. Let's see if I can hit that. He was ready, he prepared, and when God brought that opportunity, he was ready. What opportunities are you preparing for? What opportunities are you preparing for? What skills do you have that you can continue to build on? You may know Chris Hadfield, Canadian astronaut, incredible man. He's aware of all the risks that comes with going to space travel. And he says sometimes there is 11% probability that you will die. But you know what? They see 89% probability of survival. So they go to space. And people are like, so how do you overcome this fear that's within you? And he goes this, the best antidote for fear is competence. The best antidote for fear is competence. And as disciples of Jesus, we need to become more and more competent. Because God has given us everything we need. We are without excuse. David went in, he saw the opportunity. He's like, man, I am competent. We just read this passage many times and we feel like, oh, he just had faith and went up and showed up and boom. No. It was a practice. It was a dedication. He prepared, he was ready, and this showed up, and then he jumped for the opportunity. What are you preparing for? What voices are you hearing? The voice of, I can't, I don't, or are you really saying, I won't? Because there's a big difference. There's a huge difference. There's a poem that was written in 1918 by J.C. Rittenhouse. It's called My Wage. Check this out. It was written in 1918. And I read a couple of lines. It says, I bargained with life for a penny, and life will pay no more. I bargained with life for a penny. Essentially, I asked life to give me a penny. And he just gave me exactly what I asked for. Goes on to say life is actually a just employer. And he gives you what you ask for. I really believe that God wants us to flourish. I mean, it's in the scriptures. It's everywhere. Every single person in the scriptures, men, women, kids, teenagers, it doesn't matter. They all had challenges. They all had excuses, reasons not to be used by God. But those who decided to overcome, those who decided to stretch themselves, those who decided to not bargain for the minimum, not go for the lowest common denominator, those who decided not to compare in the church who is doing less so they can feel justified to do equally less, they flourished. God used them, and they had an incredible impact. Remember the story I was telling you at the beginning about running? Because of challenging that conviction, challenging that challenge or excuse, because I decided to hear the voice of this elder I was talking to, that if he can do it, I can. I went to my room and I got my running shoes, and I learned that I actually didn't need to buy any new shoes. All I had to do is double up on the socks. All I had to do is just be mentally tough here that the first 3 kilometers I'm going to be frozen. And then my brain is going to tell you, what are you doing? Just go home because this is hard. I was able to run through the winter. Now, what I didn't tell you that, what my goal was that on my birthday, I wanted to run a half marathon, November 2022. But because of the voice that I listened to, because of the inspiration that I embraced, because of the challenge, I said, if he can do it, I can do it. I was able to not only run through the winter season. Yes, I'm an African from Ghana, and prior to this, I hated that, but I've embraced it. I was able to run through the winter season, and I was able to run my first half marathon 6 months ahead. Not only that, I didn't know running was going to be God's way of helping me manage this seasonal, depression that some of us have, the loneliness, learning to be comfortable with myself. But 99% of the time I run by myself. And I go out and I'm just me and my thoughts. And just processing, just one step. Map it out, see it, have a vision. So where are you going? Okay, map out 10K. Map it out, see it. Where are the challenges? Where am I going to be tempted to quit and turn back home? Because my brain is always trying to find the easiest path, right? And so I map it out. I see it in advance. And if I know I'm going to be tempted to turn around and come back home, I don't go there. I start my race, my run, and I just leave home. I go. I challenge myself. So when I come back, I'm able to hit that mark that I'm going for. Opportunities come in all shapes and sizes, and they always arrived at the time we least expect them. Are you missing out on God's blessings? What challenges do you have right now in your life that you think God is this is a Goliath? Can I invite you to challenge those challenges? To challenge your thoughts and the voices that you're listening to? Because God is inviting you to be faithful. God is putting you in a position to be faithful. And some of us, including myself, we're hearing the voice of inflation. We're hearing the voice of, these are my needs, the voice of excuses, and we are hesitant. And God is calling you to be faithful, but you are holding on and you decline. You are saying, I got reasons. Can you challenge those thoughts? Can you challenge those reasons why? Well, my family group doesn't do this. Well, I don't have a group that meets my needs. You are not starting from zero. You have the prerequisites. You have everything that you need to move on, to challenge those excuses. Why don't you start a family group? Well, I'm not a leader. You are without excuse. You've been set free. Let's fight this imposter syndrome that's holding us hostage. Let's get to a stage that we can empty ourselves and our excuses and allow God to fill us, to fill his church with all the opportunities. Thank you.